The Her Sports Show, live every Wednesday on YouTube and every podcast app.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Her Sports Show. We've got an action-packed episode for you this week with refereeing history at the Men's World Cup, groundbreaking contracts in the Women's National League, and big news in athletics and more. We also have a brand new segment coming up that you can get involved in as well as a great interview with Jiujitsu fighter Jessica Ryan, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Nasa, you have a great story for us in relation to the World Cup. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so Stephanie Frappart, she's a French woman. She became the first woman to referee a match at the Men's World Cup. She officiated the Germany and Costa Rica game on December 1st. She also led an all-female team. She was assisted by Brazilian Nusa Bach and Mexican Karen Diaz Medina. But she isn't like a stranger to breaking barriers, as we've seen. So she was also the first woman to referee in the Men's League 2 and League 1 in France, and she became the first woman to referee in the Champions League and UEFA Super Cup. And I suppose, like, considering the controversy that is surrounding this World Cup, for many reasons, but one being the treatment of women, having her like standing in the middle of the pitch, it's, you know, unavoidable to get her on camera, and having someone like that unavoidably, centre stage, it did put a woman into every room for everyone that was watching it in all countries, and even ones that prohibit maybe women from working or women wearing shorts and a t-shirt, whatever it may be. And it just showed, I suppose, that women have a place in football, they have authority, and they can be athletic. So super news there.
Yeah, no, I was actually talking to somebody earlier today who was, talking about the fact that it was an all-woman team and the significance that could be, and they're saying like it could make such a difference for young girls participating in football, but participating in sport. Like the couple of people that might want to consider getting involved in refereeing, like it can really encourage them to stay involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in domestic news, there's been that update of the Women's National League contract. So starting this month, salaries are going to be introduced for the first time ever for professional players in the Women's National League. As in the men's game, clubs will now have the option of paying full-time contracts, part-time contracts, and also having amateur players in the squad.
Yeah, and you were at the Women in Sport Coaching Conference, I think, at the weekend, where Vera Pauw, she was one of the speakers. Did she say anything about the significance of this? Or? Yeah,
Vera definitely is in favour of it. She said it is necessary and a hugely important step for the development of the game in Ireland. It's too easy that players like Jessie were taken out of the league and into England and then rushed into a system that is at a much higher level. They will get injured, and we must be really careful with young players because an ACL is happening within a split second. So I think in terms of what she's saying, like you can definitely see that considering the training that the likes of Denise O'Sullivan or Katie McCabe or Louise Quinn might be doing, and to jump maybe from Peamount or Shelburne or something into that system, like you can definitely see the step up and how injuries could happen easily. And then she said it will also help domestically, that players will have more opportunity to train because they can be freed up for work, and hopefully it will mean our young players will stay in Ireland longer. So an improvement there. I think it'd be exciting to watch the evolution of Women's National League. Like it's a great competition at the moment and is getting better year on year. And they're also talking about the figures, so it's looking like €430 a week for full-time players, which equates to €22,360 a year, and then €130 a week for part-time players. They're the figures that people are kind of estimating at the moment. So a big step forward, and exciting for sure in Women's National League.
Definitely, yeah. Over in rugby then, the Rugby Sevens were on in Dubai, and Ireland finished 6th overall. So they were quite disappointed, I think, with coming 6th because they had such a good coming out of Pool A. They did really, really well, but it was actually a best ever finish for the team at the tournament. They were unbeaten in their group stages, winning 3 from 3. So they beat Spain 21-7, Japan 31-24, and Fiji 24-17. Then they faced the USA in the quarterfinals, and it was a really, really competitive match, really defensive, which I think is reflected in the scoreline. Was 5-0, and the only try came from Naya Tapper. So
you don't often hear 5-0 in a sevens match, do you?
Don't. So I think it did show like what kind of a game it was. It was really competitive. They then went on to play in the 5th place playoff against Great Britain, and tries came from captain Lucy Mulhall, Eve Higgins and Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe. And then after that then they faced Fiji, who they had already faced and beaten. But Fiji got their revenge, unfortunately, and they won 28-12, which led to Ireland coming sixth. So, you know, it was still a really good result for them, although they probably were a bit disappointed.
And a fun fact with Eve Higgins, I hear she's 4 tries away from becoming the second Irish woman behind Amy Lee Murphy-Crowe to register a 50 World Series try for Ireland. So an incredible feat for her, and certainly making her mark in the sevens. And they're back in action this weekend, heading to Cape Town for the second series of the year. A lot to look forward to on the rugby scene, as the Energy AIL final will take place this week on Friday as well. So we'll certainly be there and looking forward to the match. We have a full preview coming out tomorrow for anybody that wants to tune into that. There'll be lots of analysis of the semi-final, as well as a preview for the final that's coming this week on Friday. So over in athletics, there's lots of news this week. I think one of the stars of the show certainly has been Sinead Diver. So Sinead Diver broke the Australian marathon record at the Valencia Marathon. The Mayo-born runner ran 2 hours, 21 minutes and 34 seconds to finish 12th overall, breaking her previous PB by nearly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's incredible. And then it's just 2 months shy of her 46th birthday. So she's smashing ceilings there and pushing herself on, as well as obviously that record. So it breaks the Australian record that was previously held by Benita Willis back in 2006. So fantastic achievement, I think, for Sinead Diver.
And how is that comparing to Irish times?
Yeah, so in terms of the numbers, it's almost a minute faster than the long-standing record that was Katrina McKiernan's. She ran that in 1998 in Amsterdam, and then Fionnuala McCormack has been the one that has been inching closer and closer to that time. So interesting to see Sinead Diver, you know, competing and pushing forward on that. Like I did think that Fionnuala McCormack could have been the woman to run faster than Katrina McKiernan, but incredible run for Sinead. Fionnuala's best currently sits at 2 hours 23:58, which she actually ran about this time last year. So it would have been a week before European cross country last year. She had run that time, and then she competed in the European cross country the following week and was a top finisher for Ireland, which is incredible. But Ethiopia's Amane Baruso, she won the race, and she was close to the world record with a remarkable winning time of 2 hours 14 minutes and 58 seconds, which was just 54 seconds off the world record. So certainly a fast race there.
Absolutely. And there's other news as well in athletics. I saw Ciara Mageean, she's had to withdraw from the European cross country.
Yeah, so we would have had Ciara Mageean hit the headlines there after national cross country, coming in second place to Sarah Healy and losing her shoe in the process. But yeah, very disappointing for Ciara. She has got the flu. I know every time she gets to pull on the Irish vest is something that she cherishes, so she will be disappointed. It's a longer distance than usual for her, but obviously she was second in the national championships, and Sarah will be competing in the under 23 category, so she would have been going in as the top performance from the national cross country championships. I have I'm wondering what the strength of the team will be going into this European cross country. Typically Ireland have performed very, very well, and last year they would have finished in fourth position. We will, that was as the team. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. We'll have some of the same competitors from last year. We'll have Eilish Flanagan, we'll have Ava Richardson, Michelle Finn, that were also involved last year. First home, as mentioned earlier, was Fionnuala McCormack, and she finished in 9th place a week after the marathon. And then Eilish Flanagan was second home, finishing in 15th, followed by Eva Richardson in 23rd. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. So in terms of the full team, Eilish Flanagan is coming in now, replacing Ciara Mageean. We'll have Roisin Flanagan, Ava Richardson, Anne-Marie McGlynn, Michelle Finn and Mary Mulhare. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Certainly nothing's out of question. Michelle Finn had a great run last year at national cross country, but then didn't perform as well at the European cross country. So hopefully it's a role reversal for her there. So yeah, I'm just kind of have a bit of a question mark in terms of the fact that Fionnuala McCormack isn't involved. She's been involved for so many years. Like last year was her 17th time doing European cross country, but certainly there's lots of young athletes in there that are hungry to get good results, and again following on that history of Ireland being on the podium for the team event.
Perfect. And over in horse racing as well, there was huge shock with the seemingly unbeatable duo of Honeysuckle and Rachael Blackmore. They were racing and their unbeaten streak came to an end at the weekend. They were trying to go, they had 16 runs, 16 wins. They were trying to get 17th, but she did come third. And after the race, I think you could see she was visibly disappointed, and so was trainer Henry de Bromhead. But again, super record for the two of them.
Yeah, unbelievable racing. And, I know she was in the lead for a bit, but then they didn't seem to have it at the end, which would be disappointing for them. But I'm sure Rachael and Honeysuckle will be back in the mix in no time. Like, third place is obviously still a great finish. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I play AFLW.
Okay.
I have won a championship.
Yeah. Sinead Goldrick?
No.
Chloe Macken?
No.
Okay.
I've been playing for a few years over there.
Okay.
My sister plays rugby.
English consonant.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. She's 28 years old.
Okay.
She went professional in her sport in June 2018.
Okay.
And she has a twin sister.
Leona Moore.
Yeah. Next up is our interview with Jiu-Jitsu athlete Jessica Ryan.
Jess, what are your earliest memories of Jiu-Jitsu? How did you get into all that?
Hi, Colleen. Thanks very much. So when I was in second year in medical school, I was kind of looking for some kind of sporting outlet, and I just wanted to try a fighting sport. So I looked on Google. I don't know what I put in. I think I might have put in MMA Dublin or something, and I emailed the gym and asked them if I could join. I think the email I got back, and I don't know who the gym are and I'm being perfectly honest about that, but I think the email I got back was something like maybe try boot camp first and see how you get on, and then maybe go into the MMA afterwards. But I just wanted to get straight into it. So I contacted Barry Oglesby at Cayuso, who's been my coach now for the last 10 years. And he said, absolutely, come along. And then I tried out MMA for, I think it was like 2 months. And I saw the jiu-jitsu crowd kind of coming in after the MMA classes. And they just looked like cool. So I decided I was going to give that a go. And I never turned back. Like, I did a little bit of just MMA training at the start, but I really then went fully into just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that was in 2012. So actually this month marks 10 years since those emails went out.
Wow, well, congratulations. Did you have any role models in your club when you were like just starting out, or even professional role models that you looked into?
For a long time I wasn't I suppose very well read on the sport. Like for the first year or so, I just wanted to train and compete.
Mm-hmm.
We had like, I really looked up to any women that trained, because we had very few women back in 2012, 2013. And even I would say up to 2015, like there was very few women competing. It was difficult to it was difficult to get a female division together for a competition, not like now. And there was a girl, and still is a girl training in the gym, Amanda English, and she was fighting MMA professionally, and she'd been training for a good few years when I started. And I suppose Amanda was a good role model for me, because it's a little bit intimidating going down to an all-male class for a full contact sport. It made it a lot easier that everybody was so welcoming. And then it was great to have Amanda there as somebody to look up to, because she was competing a lot at the time as well. So that,
Great. Does she still fight, or is she?
Not at the moment, but we're trying to get her back to it.
Got it.
So watch this space.
Yeah. I believe at the end of October was your first fight in a few years too. What inspired you to return after you took a little break?
I suppose a number of things. I was a second year medical student when I started, and I'm now a surgical registrar, so a surgical resident. I work in general surgery. So it's been a busy few years, and I went out to do a higher degree in research in July, just for 2 years, and then I'll go back to training. So I have more time for training. Not a huge amount more, because the academic world is also very busy, but very different. So once I was back training and I could really put myself into it, I kind of felt like a challenge and another goal. The guys were competing. We have a good competition team in the gym, and I just wanted to get on, and try it again and see what it would be like. And it was I suppose I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. Kind of, if you haven't competed in a while, it's difficult to know where you stand compared to other people in your category. So, but it was a great experience, that competition. It was Grappling Industries just before Halloween. I fought Holly Jackson, really tough competitor. Really tough competitor. We had a best of 3 match, because there was just the 2 of us in the division. She won the first round, and then I won the second. So it came down to the wire for the 3rd match, because it was obviously best of 3. So, I mean, neither of us scored any points for like 4.5 minutes. I would say we're very well matched, Holly and I. And it just came down to the last, I think it was about 20 seconds. I got a takedown and scored 2 points and won. So that was a big boost for my confidence, to be honest, and sort of got me ready for the Europeans then, which was, I think it was about 2 weeks later in Rome.
Yeah. How did it feel to finally step back on the mats again? What was your favorite part that you missed or you forgot about when you were studying?
So it's all well and good training. Now, this is personal for me. It's training is different for everybody. In a competitive sport, not everybody wants to compete. It's not for them. But for me, it was all well and good training and learning the techniques and sparring my teammates. But for me, the true test was competition. So stepping back on the mats it was like kind of coming back to my roots, because I competed a lot when I was more junior belts, at my more junior stages, and it just feels quite natural. And my favorite part is kind of that moment in a match when you realize you're going to win.
Yeah.
It's never a foregone conclusion, and you'd be remiss to think that you could get yourself in trouble. But when you realize, when you've turned the odds in your favor, I suppose, and you realize that you're likely to win, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Because you still have a little bit of the match left to enjoy. Getting your hand raised is great, but it's that moment in the match when you know you're winning. Because you're going up against somebody who wants to win, and maybe deserves to win just as much as you do. Maybe has trained just as much as you have, and sometimes harder. So this is why I love the sport, because it can be so intimidating stepping on the mats and looking at your opponent. But putting yourself through that kind of process is just so rewarding at the end. So yeah, it's my favorite part.
Yeah. Now into the Europeans, you competed in the middleweight final and then got silver. Was there anything that changed in your fighting to secure the gold in the open weight class?
My opponent in the final of the middleweight category was another very tough girl, really good, very strong, and she had great takedowns. So she hit a really nice double leg, and we ended up in close guard. And so she had scored her points for the takedown, and I did try a few submissions. I went for a knee bar, but it was just probably a centimetre or two off the sweet spot, unfortunately. So it was a very tough match. I came out of that thinking I probably hadn't backed myself enough for the final. And I walked straight over to the open weight registration table and registered. And I just said, I can kind of relax a little bit now. My division is over. And I had fairly low expectations. But because of that, I was able to really focus all my energy into the match. I think sometimes worrying about the results, the outcome can take your focus off it. So actually going in very relaxed, very warm from my 2 previous fights, and very focused went in my favour.
Got it. Eyes on the prize, right?
Exactly.
What did it feel like to win gold for Ireland? That's a huge accomplishment.
It was amazing, like, because I didn't expect to win. I wanted to, but I knew I was going to be going up against girls who were potentially several weight classes above me. My husband Rowan came to Rome with me and was cornering me from the side, kind of coaching and letting me know my times and stuff like that. So it was nice to, and he had decided to come last minute. It was really nice to come off the mats and for him to be there. But it was amazing. Yeah, it's emotional, to be honest, like working so hard for so long and then having an outcome like that, which, as I said before, it's not guaranteed. Like, you're competing against amazing athletes. So, and it's kind of humbling as well. Like, it was great. And then we ate our way around Rome for the next 2 days.
Of course. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the participation of like all the Irish athletes in the Nogi Championships?
Yeah, so I tried to tally the medals, but I don't think I got all of them just yesterday. I know there were, in terms of the women, so I was in the Masters 1 category, which is ages 30 to 35. Now, for the next comp, I'll be competing in the adult category, which is under 30. But we had a girl from Limerick, Mara Kelly, win gold in her division, adults. I think it was light feather. And actually, she had fought up a weight category than her usual. We had a girl, Sylvia, I think she was Masters 1. I think 2 weight divisions above me. She won gold, and then a couple. They're both brown belt girls, so it's real tough divisions. A couple of girls then in like the blue and purple belt categories also medaled. I think we had at least 2 other gold medals. One of them was in an open weight category. So like, now I'm possibly missing some people, but like, it was outstanding. The performance of Irish women at the Europeans was really impressive. And actually, Worlds are coming up at the end. I think it's mid-December, and we'll have a few. I think we have a few girls competing at that as well. So, I just think it's great for such a small country, like those results.
Yeah. What was your training process after such a long break to now winning gold in the Europeans? Like.
So I started back training in, I think it was April, and I was out pretty much for the entire pandemic. We were working throughout the pandemic in the hospitals, and would have like getting COVID was nearly like not an option, because you could wipe out an entire department, a surgical department, medical department. And what happens then is you're nearly doing kind of 1 24-hour shift every 2 days or 3 days, or sometimes even longer shifts, like 48 hours. So I couldn't train at all, even when the restrictions are lifted. But now that things have eased up quite a bit, I felt comfortable coming back. And then it was just a matter of kind of relearning techniques that I had forgotten. There was a lot of muscle memory involved, a lot of frustration, kind of periods of low confidence, and like my teammates really kind of supported me through that. But it's the same for anyone coming back. Like, you always have like doubts, you know, that you'll ever like learn what you knew before again. And gradually it all came back to me. And then when I decided I was going to do the Europeans, really ramped up the training for the 2 months coming up to the competition. I couldn't really train at that intensity for a huge amount longer than that, because with a calorie deficit, trying to make weight for the competition, any little niggling injury is actually quite difficult to heal. So I was managing between 5 and 7 sessions a week, a mixture of jiu-jitsu, strength conditioning, running. And that was kind of my sweet spot in terms of like allowing myself time to recover and still getting intense sessions in. I had a great few sessions with a personal trainer in Nace, Mick Mulcahy. He does classes as well, but he was great just outside of jiu-jitsu to kind of get the strength and conditioning up. And then I was visiting the physio a lot, and trying to just like eat properly, get enough protein in, sleep enough. I had spoke to a nutritionist who gave me good advice, and increasing my protein intake like significantly, I feel, improved my performance and my strength, and my recovery wouldn't have been, I'm not sure if I would have been able to keep that up without increasing my protein intake as much as I did.
Yeah. Can you just tell us a bit more about like your coaching and how your club has helped you through this process as well?
Yeah, so when we're training, like we'll generally spar with everybody. So when I say we, I suppose I mean female club members, smaller club members will spar with everybody. But in general, like you do have a couple of kind of favorite training partners, people who are close to your own weight, who kind of you just sort of understand each other's technique a bit, not too well, because you want to, you know, keep learning. But those kind of people were down a lot in the few months leading up to the competition, because the Irish Open was on in that time period as well, and they were all competing at that. We would do like a couple of very intense sessions per week, and then so you'd be talking about maybe 2 quite intense sessions, and then 2 to 3 like ones kind of more focusing on technique, but still getting your heart rate up, doing maybe longer rounds. My fights in the Master 1 category are 6 minutes. So, and that's fine. Like it's not, it depends on how you're doing. It's usually fine, but just kind of want to be able to do that and then do a couple more after that and not get totally gassed, because they can be like, I mean, it's 10 out of 10 effort for 6 minutes. And then as you go down to adult, you're talking about 7, 8, 10 minutes for the black belts. So my coaching then, my coach actually came over to Rome to compete as well in the Europeans. Now he didn't do as well as he wanted to, but he, I suppose it was multifactorial, a couple of things going on for him. But it was great to have him there. And also we were kind of doing extra strength and conditioning sessions together. And then obviously like being a coach isn't just about teaching the technique. It's about getting people ready for competition in terms of mindset. And a really good coach will do that. They'll address, like, they're nearly like a sports psychologist, like a counselor, a nutritionist.
They do it all.
They do everything. Yeah, so he was great. And then we have like that's Barry the coach, and then we have some senior black belts there that like they're just, you know, veteran competitors. We have a competition WhatsApp group where it's very open, like any people can kind of post anything into it. It's an extremely supportive environment, and there was just that kind of constant sort of chat about the comps and getting ready as well. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that was great. And you have the Dublin Fall International Open in about a week, right? How are you prepared for that? Are you excited?
Yeah, like I feel ready for it. I'm I would have always suffered from competition nerves quite badly, and the longer the gaps between my competitions, the more nervous I would get. The thing about this season is I've competed, like the comps have all been quite close together, so it's nearly like exposure therapy, like you're desensitizing yourself to the stimuli. So I feel like kind of excited more than anything else. I'm going to go into it with an open mind. I've got some new competitors that I haven't met before in the adult middleweight category, and then hopefully in the open weight category as well. They're going to be really good, so I'm excited to kind of test myself, and I'll be competing at adults for the first time as a brown belt. So I feel, to be honest, I feel very confident, but I suppose we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. And like coming back from Euros, I did a deload week last week, still training, but not at the same intensity. This week then is pretty high intensity. I'm going training in an hour or so again. And then next week, because they're so close together, you don't want to take too much time off and your conditioning to suffer. So I'll have to have a chat with my coach next week about how to sort of manage that. And then it's on Saturday, it's the weekend of the 3rd of December. And I'm competing in gi and no gi. So gi is the kimono. And no gi, you just be wearing like a rash guard and leggings. So there should hopefully be 4 divisions for me, my 2 weight categories and 2 open weight categories. And we have, I think, 13 other competitors from the gym going to that comp. So it should be good.
Wow. Okay, so this is the last question. What have you noticed about female participation in the sport? Like, do you have any advice for any girls that are just starting out or coming back from a break like you did?
When I started, like I said, there were no women. Like a women's division was rare, and only at the very big competitions. Now we have loads of girls competing, and it's just amazing to see. The gyms themselves like have significantly more female members that are staying on like this. So personally, no, it's just anecdotal, but I feel like there's less attrition now in our gym anyway for women. Like the other day, women outnumbered men at one of the classes for the first time. Like I thought it was the first time ever, but like that's just totally anecdotal, like out of my own memory. And then like the next class, we were matched for numbers, and these are like high level classes. So that's a huge change. I know some people look for all female classes in order to start. At the moment, we don't do an all female class in Cayuso where I train, but I'm not sure there's any need, to be honest, because there's usually a couple of women at each class. So if you wanted to get started in Jiu-Jitsu, first of all, I highly recommend it. I started I think I was in my mid-20s, but we have people starting in like their 30s, 40s, 50s, like, and no joke, they become obsessed like with the sport when they start. And it's actually difficult to get people to stop talking about it, to be honest. They just love it so much. Highly recommend it. Great for self-defense, confidence, getting just in shape. You just sort of, the muscle just starts appearing, like, and all you're doing is going to class and enjoying yourself. And I never had carried extra weight, but I wouldn't have been lean. But my body type has changed completely since I started Jiu-Jitsu 10 years ago. And I suppose there haven't really been any negatives to it at all. So yeah, highly recommend it. Come down and join the gym. I'll see you there.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. Well, we wish you the best of luck and can't wait to watch you secure another win.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Colleen.
The Her Sports Show, live every Wednesday on YouTube and every podcast app.